2022 was a pretty good year for horror. So many movies came out that I believe people will one day look at as cult classics, but it wasn't without a few divisive films in the mix. Skinamarink, directed by Kyle Edward Ball, is a film that not a lot of people seemed to really appreciate. Set in a seemingly ordinary house, we watch as it drifts into a nightmarish landscape that plays on our deepest childhood fears. Unlike typical horror films that rely on jump scares or elaborate plots, Skinamarink plunges the viewer into a surreal and unsettling atmosphere that I absolutely loved. The movie felt so unique, and I watched it at my desk in a pitch-black room with headphones on, which made the quiet uneasiness really affect me. I enjoyed this movie so much that I was surprised to see the negative reaction it got from some people. Reflecting on it after, though, I can sort of see where they were coming from. Despite this movie being a complete standout for me, I haven't watched it with other people, which is odd, since I'm the type of person to rewatch the same movie twice in one day, just so I can show it to somebody if I think they would like it too. But I just haven't gotten there with this movie yet. Skinamarink is a horror for a very particular type of person. And since I am that person, I thought it would be interesting to dive into why I love this movie, but hesitate to show it off. And to do that, I want to talk about why I think this movie works. The narrative is minimal, focusing on two young children, Kevin and Kaylee, who wake up to find their father missing and the windows and doors inexplicably vanishing. This stripped-down story amplifies the feeling of isolation and helplessness. The audience experiences fear through the perspective of the children. The lack of clarity in the camera angles as well as the story forces viewers to use their imagination, leading to a more profound sense of dread. I've heard it said that there's nothing quite as scary as what our brains can make up, and my brain was fully engaged while watching this. Ball employs unconventional cinematography, which is partly why this film is so divisive. Featuring grainy, dimly lit shots and off-kilter angles. Visually, Skinamarink takes bold creative risks that may initially seem jarring. The grainy texture and unconventional camera angles challenge typical filmmaking conventions, prioritizing a mood over visual clarity. This aesthetic choice not only sets the film apart, but also fosters an environment of unease and disorientation that align with the thematic content. The disorientation mirrors the children's confusion and fear, creating an oppressive atmosphere. The camera lingers on dark corners and empty spaces, inviting viewers to confront the unknown themselves. This deliberate pacing and sparse dialogue pull you into a dreamlike state, where every creak and shadow become a source of tension. As I watched this, suddenly every sound I heard was coming from inside my own room. I must have taken my headphones off at least 10 times, mistaking sounds from the movie for something hidden in the darkness. As I've gotten older, and my brain has started to fully form, I've gotten better about knowing what is and isn't in the dark corners of my home. But watching this, it just reset me. I felt like a kid again, terrified to turn around in my desk chair and confront the unknown. This is where I feel like Skinamarink really excels. Unlike many horror films that rely on gore or overt violence, Skinamarink relies on psychological horror. The fear comes from what isn't seen rather than what is. The film taps into the audience's own childhood fears, the fear of the dark, abandonment, and the uncanny. By doing so, it transcends typical horror tropes and definitely created a lasting impact on me. You could argue that maybe the movie wouldn't have made such an impression if I'd watched it on a TV with the lights on. But at the end of the day, who watches horror movies with the lights on? I think that regardless, I would have felt the same because this movie just taps straight into my own childhood fears. I've always been an anxious person, but I was especially an anxious child. Everything scared me, and this movie made me feel like I was venturing through my own childhood home in the middle of the night, alone. The emotional resonance of Skinamarink can't be overlooked. By delving into primal fears, the film evokes a profound sense of anxiety that resonates long after the credits roll. This lingering effect encourages discussion and contemplation, prompting viewers to grapple with their own interpretations of fear and childhood trauma. At its core, Skinamarink is about the loss of childhood. The film subtly critiques parental neglect and explores how children perceive fear and danger. The house transforms from a home to a labyrinth of terror, reflecting how children often feel lost in a world they don't fully understand and can't understand yet. This theme resonates deeply within me, making it more than just a horror movie. It's a haunting reflection on the fragility of all of our childhoods. While Skinamarink has garnered a cult following, some viewers were put off by its slow pace and ambiguous narrative, dismissing it as simply boring. However, this is precisely what makes it so impactful in my opinion. Its ability to evoke visceral fear through atmosphere and implication rather than explicit storytelling. You're not going to get an exposition dump. It's a film that demands your patience and introspection, and it's rewarding to those who are able to engage with it fully. The film's unconventional storytelling is a significant departure from traditional narrative structures. The absence of a clear plot compels viewers to engage with the film on a more profound level, encouraging personal interpretation and reflection. This ambiguity invites audiences to explore their own perceptions of fear and vulnerability, making the viewing experience more subjective and impactful. In a genre often defined by formulaic narratives, Skinamarink stands out as a thought-provoking piece that challenges viewers to think critically about the nature of horror itself. However, I understand that saying all of this makes the movie sound like more of a task. And if you're just trying to find a movie to throw on at a party, this isn't a great option. And I'm sure that's the way that plenty of people experience this. I think there's a certain expectation of what a casual movie experience will be, and horror is a really fun group watch. If you don't quite know what you're getting into, you might feel emotionally detached from the film itself due to its abstract nature. The minimal dialogue and slow build-up may prevent audiences from forming a strong connection with the characters or the story. This is a valid critique, as emotional engagement is a critical component of effective storytelling, especially in horror, where empathy can go a long way in amplifying fear. Paired with the lack of visual clarity, the movie isn't very accessible, I suppose. That's why I haven't shown it to anybody. I would love to watch it with my friends and have them get all the same enjoyment and thought from it that I did. But I think fundamentally that is somewhat impossible. This film has become scary on a personal level, and because of that, I'm not sure if someone else, someone who hasn't lived my life, would experience this movie the same as me. And I dread that feeling of being so excited to share something important to me, then having it be met with middling excitement and reaction. It's kind of a long, quiet movie, and being in a room with someone that isn't enjoying that, honestly, sounds so uncomfortable to me. I guess I'm just too emotionally connected to it. If you think that this movie might be for you, but are unsure, there's actually a really cool compromise. In 2020, before Skinamarink, Kyle Edward Ball actually made a 30-minute short film on YouTube called Heck. It's basically a proof of concept, and it masterfully delivers on similar feelings and themes as Skinamarink, but with a considerably shorter commitment time. I actually have shown this one off, and it feels like the perfect balance. Ultimately, both works invite viewers to confront their own fears and reflect on the complexities of childhood, making them essential watches for anyone interested in exploring the darker corners of their own mind. They're a testament to the power of horror in its purest form, and by bracing the unknown, both of the films craft an experience that lingers long after the credits roll. If you're someone that's tired of more formulaic horror, Skinamarink and Heck are sure to stand out as underrated gems, reminding us that sometimes the scariest things out there are the things we can't even see. Thank you so much for watching. If you've watched either of these films, please leave a comment with what you thought, even if you don't necessarily agree with me. And if you feel up to it, like or subscribe, it just helps a lot. The reception my Godzilla video garnered was extremely encouraging, and I thank everybody watching this for that. And with that, I will see you next time.